So, this is kind of the last
No,
segment.
I've enjoyed this again.
Well, thanks, me too. There's kind of nobody I'd rather do it with because you're easy to get along with. And,
Easily abused.
no, I'm hoping it doesn't come to that.
No, just joking. But, you said you come to the end of your stories, and I've asked you a lot of questions, and you've answered some of this, but in the end, what do you expect people to get out of this? I shared a little bit of what I got out of it. What do you expect the general public to get out of this book, The Forgotten Option?
I basically probably three things is I hope that they stop and think.
Oh.
When you get lost in
maybe do that already in a short time.
When you're in a car and you get lost, you don't step on the gas pedal usually. Most people pull over. And so I would like people to pull over and just really stop and think. Because there's answers today that, well, if you look back in your life, there's answers you didn't have at one point in your life that 5 years later were just so clear, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so we need to allow for the fact that maybe there's something I'm going to know a couple of years from now that this will all make sense.
Mm-hmm.
So just get people to stop and think. There's a kind of a favorite scripture of mine that sums this up perfectly, where Jesus is talking to his disciples and he said, "Blessed are you if you do these things." Mm-hmm. And so somebody asked me, like I'll ask you, when does the blessing come? Does it come before I do them? Does it come in the middle of when I do them? Or does it come at the end?
Takes a little effort, right?
Yeah. So blessed are you if you do these things mean when you've completed it, when you've done it, you're going to be blessed. And I guess my heart goes out to people that didn't realize that at the end of it, that they would have enjoyed their grandchildren together, or they would have, that at the end of it, they could have worked through it all, and they would enjoy those years of their marriage that they thought they could never get to. So that blessed are you if you wait till the end, if you see it through. It's a blessing I want everybody to have.
That's the hard part.
That brings me to the second. Aspect.
It's not how society puts it,
It brings me to the second aspect is that I hope people get good counseling. It's interesting to me that you can go to a marriage counselor and he will advocate divorce. In a lot of instances, I think a marriage counselor ought to advocate marriage. So just that aspect of getting, really good counsel. One of the things that I think is really overlooked when it comes to counsel is like, you and Carol have had a good marriage together. That there's people around us that one thing I can't do with a marriage counselor, a marriage and family counselor, I can't follow him home. And I don't know how he treats his wife. And I don't know how he treats his children. Just because I have a plaque on the wall, just because I'm a plumber doesn't mean the plumbing at home is good, right? Mm-hmm. So there's people that go to our churches or relatives that we have, maybe friends, that we can actually see their life, see the way they treat their wife, see the way that husbands treat it, see how they treat their kids, see that they have a pretty good marriage, or at least could be help me to get a step closer to a good marriage. And I had a teacher in college that said, you'd be surprised how many people would be honored if you said, hey, look, we're not where you were at. We got some things we're working on. Could you maybe consider taking maybe an evening, maybe once a month or two, where we could just come and kind of talk a little bit about our lives, and maybe you could help us? He said, you would think that they would be whatever, but he said, you just don't know how many people would be honored to actually be able to do that. And the ones that maybe don't want to do it, maybe it doesn't look as good as you would think.
They might not have anything to add, you said.
Yeah. And then the last thing is to really communicate, and to communicate up front where things can be corrected. I think it's really a disservice to everybody when I think there's a tendency to talk about something, and I've told you about it 1,000 times, and you're not listening, and maybe the guys, maybe we are, but we think, well, it'll all it'll all work out. But I think there's communication, like with our kids. There's communication where we need to say, no, this is really important to me, and you need to go to your room, or you need to go think about this. And so rather than get to the end of a marriage and I've had it and we're done, when you're really not done, but I'm done with this whole thing, I really advocate communication up front as early as possible, and to get the correction taken care of, even if it seems like it's going to be really difficult correction to get it taken care of. I can remember a time in my marriage when I did something and my wife goes, "You'll never do that to me again." I didn't. It wasn't something that, but because she stopped me and really spoke to me, it was something I wasn't aware of,
Right?
And it was done forever. And I really value that couples would have that kind of communication rather than stuffing things under the carpet and then getting to a place where you feel like it's completely over. And I've told you 1,000 times when I never really said, I'm not going to tell you this time. I want you to go think about it. Maybe separation for a day, maybe for a weekend, or maybe the guy needs to go away somewhere for a month. And I mean, you have these associations in your life that don't seem to fit our marriage, and so you're going to go live with your buddies for a couple of months until you find out until you figure out what the priority is.
Yeah.
So those are chief things I'd like to see. Some stop and think, communicate, and to get the right counsel. That people are going to bring you back together again and not separate you. So
that sounds like those are all good things to remember. Communicate. You mentioned communication. To me, that speaks a lot volumes. I hear so many marriages, and you think, why did they break up, or why are they getting divorced? And it sounds so simple, some of the things, and it's, we look at the outside, like you said, we don't know what goes on behind doors, but yet it sounds so simple. The reason why they got divorced or separated was just simple communication. Answer sounds simple to us. We're on the other side, but yet how important that is.
Yeah, and it's not just verbal. It's saying, I'm drawing a line here, and I'm going to tell you by space. Or
actions.
I'm going to tell you by actions that this needs to stop, or this needs to change. And again, like I'll say, I think I've learned that I hope I've learned is that the most important communication is usually the most difficult. So I'm not good at, I don't know about you, but I'm not good at reading tea leaves to try and figure out what's going on. The only thing I know to do is just these days is to ask and be upfront.
Like you said with your experience, that's it. That's how I have to. I get hit over the head sometimes, but it registers. Yeah, that's communication.
Right.
It's an action.
Yeah,
that's very good.
Yeah, exactly. Your dog gets it when you smack his nose or whatever.
Attention.
So thank you for taking this time from your afternoon. I really appreciate it, and it's really been important to me. Again, you're a person I feel really comfortable around, and it's been easy to share back and forth. Thank you.
It's been a treat, and I have read the book. I'm not just doing a funny thing.
It actually is your book, isn't it?
Matter of fact, you wrote it. That's what makes it special.
Yeah.
To a great friend. Anyway, you are a great friend, and I like the title. The Forgotten Option, and that speaks volumes. And I just hope that your book goes far and people learn from it. I did.
Yeah. Yeah. The goal is I really like to see people stay in their marriages.
Yes. Good advice. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, King Connolly.
Thank you.